Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to the second Patreon Spotlight video, and today's theme, if you like, is two-thirds. Two-thirds of these games are going to be wins, two-thirds of them are going to feature this tank, the Rudy, two-thirds of them are going to have top guns, and two-thirds of them are going to feature a Tog on the enemy team. And you can see this isn't one of the Tog ones. Now this is Klingensberg. This isn't the first time you've seen him on the channel, although I think this is the first time we've seen a game from his point of view. This is Winterberg, the winter variant of Ruinberg, and as you can see, it's interesting matchmaking. Mostly medium tanks with a smattering of tank destroyers, and the enemy team have also got an M6, which is in theory very good matchmaking for an M6. Although the armour on the M6 isn't the best. If it was a Russian heavy, this would be much more unbalanced matchmaking, just because something like a T-150 would have very good armour against enemy medium tanks. Now as you can see, Klingensberg's team is on the back foot, and he's using his mobility well. Oh, there's that M6. Now he doesn't have sixth sense, so he doesn't know if he's spotted or not. But as you can see, he's doing his best to put this medium mobility to use. And he's also putting that very nice 85mm gun to use as well. Now, I've mentioned this before, but just in case you haven't seen any of those videos, this, in theory, has got the same gun as the SU, not the SU, anything, the T-3485M, the other premium tier 6 Russian T-3485. In theory, it's the same gun, but in practice, it is in fact... it's the top gun of the regular T-3485, and that is obviously a bit annoying if you are an owner of the SU-85M, if you bought that thing, because although that has got improved frontal armour, that improved frontal armour only really matters when you're top tier. But the armour on just this, the Rudy and the regular T-3485, is still okay when you're top tier, and 811, I mean, he's to fight fairly hard here. And he does actually, you'll see he's doing it here, he's using this pile of rubble, but he's also angling and he's side scraping. And when you're top tier against same tier mediums, that's actually a fairly valid tactic. So he's racking up the damage, he's really putting this, yes, that replay derp though. This is another two-thirds thing. Two of these games are 9.7 games and one of them's a 9.6, so the replays are a bit derpy. So yeah, he's side scraping quite well here. And just punishing this VKD, and he's also racking up the damage, over 2,000 damage. 10-13, 2 versus 5, 2 versus 4. The and again, it's another T-3485. His ally is actually doing alright as well, although you'll see on the score screen that Klingensberg is doing by far the best. Anyway, surprise Jagdpanzer 4, although Klingensberg obviously had an inkling this guy was going to flank. Fortunately, he wasn't full health, so 2 shots later, he's down. And again, side scraping. And this Dick Max, nice bounce there, is very low health, so that's an easy one-shot kill. So we're now down to an artillery and a Hellcat, and look how little health that Hellcat does have left. Not fully aimed, takes the shot anyway, as they say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It's not that he was low on ammo, so, you know, a shot like that, you might as well take it, and it actually worked. So there we go. 4 kills, 2,600 damage, and... he's actually managed to pull this back quite nicely, and you'll see the end results. A lot of the outcome of this battle has to do with Klingensberg. I don't know what crew he's got in here. He might be actually using the Rudy crew. He didn't actually say. But one of the nice features about this is that for some low-tier medium machines, or mid-tier medium machines, or just mid-tier machines generally, you end up having to pick out an extra radio man. But because the Rudy's special, because it has that dog as a radio man, you can put your regular higher tier medium crews in this, and you don't really have any penalty in terms of not having, say, brothers in arms. But anyway, that SU-5, well, we see that one of the enemy Hellcats is being a complete jackass, and he seems to be... Now, this could be subtle subterfuge, well, not so subtle, but he could be trying to misdirect these guys into just driving around pointlessly in circles. He might not actually be giving away the position of his own artillery. I mean, if he is, I mean, like I said, it's a jackass thing to do, but he's clearly just impatient to get into another battle with the Hellcat. He doesn't want to go back to garage and pick another tank. No, he wants to play the Hellcat again. Okay, well, fair enough. So we're just hunting for this last artillery now. There's no chance of him getting a top gun, unfortunately. This isn't, again, this isn't one of the 2/3. No TOG and no top gun, but all three of them are in fact going to be ace tanker games, so there's that. So there's that SU-85, no, SU-5, no 80 about it, who does take out the T-34-85, but it doesn't matter because Klingensberg nails him just a few seconds later. So, ace tanker, high caliber. In fact, I think all three games are also high caliber games, so, you know, that's quite nice. And as you can see, he did fairly nicely out of that. That wasn't a particularly long battle, which is why I showed it in its entirety. He had nearly 4,000 XP with his, I'm guessing with his daily. That was nearly 1,300 base XP, 2,800 damage, 5 kills, and quite a few credits profit. And he did like twice as good damage-wise as the next best person on his team. So that was, he was really, I mean, a lot of playing this game, doing well in this game, is really paying attention to the minimap, paying attention to what's going on around you. So turning to face that Jagdpanzer IV, like that's the kind of thing that playing this game, getting the experience does help with, like knowing when an enemy might pop up behind you. And sometimes you'll be wrong, but anyway. So on to the next replay. This is Yachty70. He's in Circ 3. And this is incredibly good matchmaking for an ELC. This is a tier 5 game, tier 6 game even. This is about as good as it gets for an ELC. I don't even think you can be top tier in an ELC, to be honest. And because this is the 9.6 game, it's not the HD ELC. This is the old style SD model. Now this one is going to be a lot more edited. He initially moves to this position and he's just spotting from this bush. And we're going to jump ahead about a minute, and he's still spotting, but by this point we know where at least half the enemy team is. They seem to have gone south and are pushing fairly aggressively. Now this entire game was, well, it was a war of attrition, but it also shows the value of light tanks in the late game, and why staying alive in a fast light tank into the late game. You just get more and more powerful. And it's not quite as much so as with, say, an autoloader, where the longer you stay alive, the more low health enemies there are running around, and the easier it is to just clip those low health enemies. You know, you can still do a lot with the light tank in the late game. And that's what we're going to see in this match. But for now, he is basically, he's not just spotting anymore, because his team in the south, they need support. They are getting severely punished, so he's actually got to start firing his gun. But he's got 6th sense, and as we can see, that will get him spotted. Now, this is one of the TOG games. Note the position of the enemy TOG. He's just sat at base, doing pretty much nothing. And yes, this is a game with 3 artillery, so that might have had something to do with it. That's pure speculation on my part. The guy might have seen that there were 3 enemy artillery and gone, nope. Because Sand River's a big, mostly open map. There aren't that many artillery safe places, and none that you can get to quickly in a TOG. So he just decided that he was going to sit at home, because most of his team went south. And to be fair, you know, there are worse things to do with a TOG, because otherwise the base would have been more or less undefended. There would have been an M8A1 and artillery, and that would have been it pretty much. It does look like most of the team just pushed south. And they have done a lot of damage to Yachty's team. But Yachty's team has, they've not gone down without a fight. They have done damage. It's not just, it's not that Yachty's saving the day right now by doing all the damage from the ridge. So we're jumping forward a little bit again. We're now at the 10.5 minute mark, and he's picked up 1 kill there. And you can see he is literally the last non-artillery left on his team. It's all gone a bit pear-shaped. He's also been spotted, and he's got to be wary about artillery, but as long as he moves after he fires, as long as he's not just sitting in the same place firing over and over again. And he's using bush cover intelligently here, but he's not pushing his luck. Now he knows it wasn't spotted that time, so he's going to pull forward, try and finish off this T150. Hummel takes out the KV-85 at point blank range. T150, there we go, very nice. He was quite angled there, but it was still side and rear armour, so for the ELC's gun, that was a fairly safe shot as long as you sit and aim. The ELC, like the penalty for having a very, very, very good 90mm gun on a tier 5 light tank is that, well, A, you don't have a turret that can go all the way around, and B, it has a horrendous aim time and a horrendous load time as well. So for taking out low health targets, it's quite nice, but if you get jumped by another scout, well, by the time you've loaded your gun twice, there's every chance that they've just killed you already. Although I found the Leopard scouts, the tier 5 German Leopard, like the clip reload on that was so long that I would frequently get murdered by ELCs just because I would empty a clip into them, which wouldn't be enough to kill them. They would then have time to reload and shoot me again before I could finish them. So that's one of the reasons why I really didn't like that. So we've come down to the campers who are finally on the move. They have at least realised that they can't just sit at base. Well, they could have, but then it would have been a draw. So we're at the 8-minute mark now. We've jumped ahead again a bit, and the Tog-2's finally moved. Now Yachty does still have one ally. He's still got that AMX. And there we go. He wasn't going to fire there, I don't think. He was just spotting for his arty, but he spotted a chance to take out that enemy gorilla and took it because enemy artillery could end him. Even the Bishop could end him because the ELC is very, very vulnerable to HE, particularly RC-HE. Now, it's not the most reliable ammo to use when you're driving a normal tank because you could shoot the tracks, you could shoot somewhere where it just splashes, but a derp gun, like 105mm derps for instance, would quite easily just one-shot an ELC if they rolled high. It's only got 400 health, remember. So he waited until the last possible moment before he took that shot against the Tog. He was lighting up the, concentrating on lighting up the guy for his artillery. One mistake this arty does make, and you know, the AMX-13, okay, he keeps his head. He actually remembers to use his W key, but he not once in this battle, not once does he use his reload indicator. So Yachty has absolutely no idea how long this guy's reload is. Unless you've played this particular arty, unless you know which gun it has, unless you are aware of his crew skills, whether he's got a rammer or not, you know, you've got no idea how much his reload time's actually going to be. So that would have been a very useful thing for AMX-13 to do, but anyway. So we've jumped forward a little bit. He's flanked around at this point. He could have just engaged the Tog head on, but instead chose to flank, and that's proved to be useful because he was able to spot that Su-85B without being spotted in return. He does roll high, but not quite high enough to one-shot the guy, and that naturally got him spotted. He's still concerned about arty. The Bishop, if you aren't aware, has the same gun as the Tier 6, the Burt. It's slightly slower firing, but it's still a pretty fast-firing arty, and it has enough alpha, definitely, to take out an ELC. So he decides the Tog's a one-shot and closes the distance. So he's using the Tog's slower turret traverse against him with those arty shells. And that 3 damage there he took from nudging the Tog. First damage he's taken all game, so he's done fairly well so far. Meanwhile, the AMX managed to take out that very, very low health Su-85B, so it's now down to Yachty and the enemy artillery. He's still going to play it cautiously, though. He could just rush in and be gung-ho, and if you were in, say, a Chaffee, it might be more tempting just to plough in and just unleash your firepower, but he's going to be a bit cautious. He's already got a top gun. He's not desperate to get all the glory for himself. Now, he spotted the Bishop, and the Bishop's got really no chance of spotting him back. Most artillery don't have a particularly good view range, but you never know. You might come across an arty that's using binoculars or optics or something like that, just for that bit of extra view range, because some arties you really only need 2 of the 3 slots for vital equipment, and the third space is usually, you know, you dump in a camo net or something like that. There are very few arties that can use things like ventilation. Most of them are British, in fact. Well, there we go, he spotted the M44. And he's still being cautious. He just... I mean, there's plenty of time. There's 4 minutes. We know exactly where these people are. He could rush in, but there's a chance if he rushes in, especially in an ELC with the forward-facing gun, you know, he's got to stop and aim to be sure the shots are going to hit. And there we go. The AMX-13 takes out the M44. But there's that chance that the enemy RT will just derp him in the face. So this is a bit slower. It's a little bit less gung-ho, but it's also the more certain route to victory. Like, there's little chance that he's going to get just derped in the face by an RT. And then, at that point, it would be down to the AMX-13. So, yeah, a bit of caution, I think. You know, it was the sensible thing to do, and it is paying off. So there's that bishop. He's already managed to shoot him once. Unfortunately, his blind shot didn't connect, but the next shot definitely will kill the guy. The bishop superstructure, by the way, IS time, is very weak. So if you manage to put an HE shell into the side of that, it will fairly reliably pen. Although it does depend on, obviously, the caliber of gun. And at this point, he could still risk his luck, but he could pop over. But by the time he was able to pull back, you know, if he pops over, takes a snapshot, it's risky, and there's time. There's absolutely no reason why he doesn't wait for his ally to turn up. And at that point, it's 2 versus 1, and the bishop can only look at one of them. And it's an artillery, so even if it does hit, and there we go, the bishop's fired. So Yachty takes a shot, and it's a snapshot, and it misses. So he's got to reload, and the AMX-13, you know, he wants to live as well, as glorious as an artillery shotgun fight can be. And silly, he's quite content to let Yachty take the shot at the tank that's not looking at him. And there we go. So that was a bit more of a cautious ELC game, but it paid off rather nicely. Again, an ace tanker, high caliber, and a top gun. And even though this was very favourable matchmaking, he really had to make best use of those ELC characteristics. I'm not sure he could have done it in many other tier 5 scouts. The chunky nature of that 90mm gun on a tier 5 scout, well, that really let him rack up the damage where it counted, and the amount of pen you get as well, 170, you know, you don't get this gun again on the light tank line until the 1390, so that proved to be particularly useful, and that was worth 1700 base XP nearly. So yeah, that was pretty nice. You know, in addition to the 2600, he actually got 1800 spotting and assistance damage as well, so he was, in addition to having to do all that damage, he was actually scouting at the same time as well. So that was the 2 wins. I promised you a defeat, and I promised you another Rudy game, and here they are. This is Islandman224, and having mentioned the Chaffee in the last game, well, he actually had the Chaffee replay in the very first Patreon video I did, so this time we're going to see him again in action in a rather different machine. Now, I've already talked about what the Rudy is and what it can do, so instead, I guess I will talk about this game mode. Now, we've had it's been 3 different game modes. We've had so far an encounter battle, we've had just a regular battle, and this is an assault battle. I don't particularly like assault battles. For one thing, they are capped at 10 minutes rather than 15. And maybe some people like that about them, that the action is a bit more, like the time is much more of a factor in these battles than with regular battles. Like the number of draws you get normally, it happens more on certain maps. Maps like Swamp, maps like Malinovka. But with this mode, it is impossible to get a draw, basically. Although, actually, having said it's impossible, if you had a situation where literally both the last 2 remaining tanks, like one on the friendly team and one on the enemy team, killed each other at the same instant, I suppose that could be a draw. But there's an attacking side and a defending side, so most of the time, one team or the other is going to win, and there is going to be very little chance of a draw. I'd actually be interested to see what the statistical, like how many draws have occurred on assault mode. So that's like the one thing it's got going for it. But I just don't like it as a game mode generally, and when the option came available to turn it off, which it initially wasn't when they introduced it, I was quite happy to. So that SU-100, we will learn, doesn't have the top gun, which is going to be a very good thing, and there we go, for Island Man, because the 122mm would have really hurt. And instead it looks like he's using an 85mm gun. So he doesn't even have a 100mm gun. Because, well, it could have... Well, no, actually, 151. No, it couldn't have been a 100mm gun. Anyway, never mind. That's a Derp M4. And he can get the guy's turret, but... Yeah, he's just losing health rapidly here. Like, the guy's only hitting him for 90 damage at a time, but he's already down to half of his health. And this is turning out to be not a very good position to be in. So he can either sit and be shot by that Derp M4, or he can take his chances with the SU-100. And the VK was making a push through, so he used the opportunity to... Oh, that's a box tank! And he just bounced the box tank. Yes, that was incredibly lucky. Now, he was angling a bit, but even so, to get a bounce from that gun... Yeah, that could have ended him. That should have ended him, and instead it bounced off at an auto-bounce angle, and it must have been an auto-bounce angle. So at this point, 9-6. And the enemy team has got that -1 SU-100, so this looks like it should be fairly comfortable, right? Well, the enemy team, they have a TOG too, and this is where I'm going to talk about the matchmaking. Our team had 1 top-tier heavy who is dead already. Their team had 3 top-tier heavies, one of whom is also dead, but one of those is a TOG. The enemy team had a massive hit points advantage at the top of the tiering, basically. And even if it had been a regular tier 6 heavy, they still would have had a big hit points advantage. But the fact that one of those tier 6s is a TOG 2, which has as much health as, what, a tier 7 tank? A tier 8 tank? That's almost as much health as like a tier 8 medium. In fact, more than tier 8 mediums, I think. I'm trying to think. The Super Pershing's got like 1500. The IS-3's got 1500 as well. So, yeah, we're talking nearly tier 8 levels of hit points there. So, yes, and he's got a lot of those left. Yeah, that bounce there. That was pretty unlucky. But hey, he had a bounce himself that was incredibly lucky. So you can't complain about the RNG too much in a game like this. So that SU-100 is still full health. He finally manages to get a shot in, but unfortunately... having taken a shot from the Churchill 7 and having, again, side-scraping, it's quite useful, it was kind of worked out quite well. He's very low health now. He can ill afford to take another shot. And he, again, when he was manoeuvring, I mean, he saw the T1 Heavy coming and manoeuvred to place himself, so at least he was facing the guy frontally. But stuck his front out just enough for the SU-100 to take another shot at him. Which... again, could have ended him right there, so... Yeah, but anyway, he gets the T1 Heavy Permatrax, manages to finish the T1, although the T1 unfortunately finishes a friendly Hetzer just a moment before. The enemy team's now down to a TOG 2, a Gorilla, and a T40, but unfortunately, this team is now that T1 Heavy, who's about to die, T40 who's low health, and that TOG 2, who still has 1,000 hit points, now just under 1,000 hit points. There's also a Gorilla left to worry about. But... potentially, this is doable. Now, our Gorilla is still out on the field, and one of the nice things about Ruinberg is that, yes, if you're in a faster tank, you can go out on the field, and you can play with view range and camo and whatever. But there is a large, relatively arty-safe zone, especially when it's a mode like this, and the assaulting side arty has to... actually, they have to move around quite a lot to get shots. Anyway, we're down to now less than 3 minutes, and Island Man's done quite a lot of manoeuvring himself. He's managed to sneak up behind this Gorilla. Nearly gets taken out by the friendly Gorilla, who did not indicate that he was about to fire. So this is another 2/3 thing, like the... no, that miss. The friendly AMX in the last game was not indicating his reloads, and the friendly Gorilla in this game very nearly killed Island Man because he did not... Again, the tools are all there. If you must play artillery, tell people the targets you're about to fire at. Indicate when you're reloading. Anyway, a bit more manoeuvring because he can't take a hit from this guy at all. So he's basically trying to use his mobility to get around to spot for artillery. But the artillery is actually coming into the town at this point, and we're really running out of time. This is 1 minute, just over 1 minute remaining. So he's got to try and get these sneaky snapshots. And he really has to be quick about it. Like, he can't sit and aim. He's got to just pop out from directions the guy isn't expecting. And if this were a regular 15-minute match, this might be a lot easier, but as it is, he doesn't have the time. It's 40 seconds left. Now the gorilla's going to go in. The gorilla can take at least one hit, and if you can derp the guy, well, if he derps the guy in the face, he might hurt him, but he's unlikely to kill him. Iron Man makes a decision at this point. He's going to flank. Now the gorilla has hit the Tog. Sounds like the Tog is tracked, but Iron Man decides to flank all the way around. There is less than 20 seconds left now. If he had gone, and you see to the left there's those arches, he could have gotten his tank through that. He could have, in theory. Unfortunately, the gorilla's down. Tog 2 has 52 health, and we've run out of time. Yes. That's the main reason I don't like that battle mode, is that 10-minute hard limit and the fact that a team can win by default. Just a couple more seconds and Iron Man could have had that. And yes, he could have played it slightly better at the end there. He could have taken a much faster route to pop out behind that gorilla, but even so, his result compared to the rest of his team, 3,200 damage, 7 kills, 1,497 base XP on a defeat. And yes, he had courageous resistance to get that, but even so, the rest of his team, not one of them did over 1,000 damage. In fact, the closest was the gorilla with 882 damage. And the rest of his team were distinctly unimpressive. So yes, he could have done more, but if even one member of his team had done a bit more against that Tog, like if the T1 Heavy had landed just maybe even one more hit on the Tog, if the matchmaker had given them an extra heavy tank, if their only heavy tank hadn't been so damn useless, their only heavy tank had 0 damage, he did nothing except die, well, yeah, I mean, you could say that Iron Man could have done more, but certainly the rest of his team could have done more there as well. And as it was, that was so close. That was so close. Just a little more, and it would have been a win. But anyway, the actual result was that he had by far the best XP and damage of anyone on either team. So the actual, like the credits and the XP and all that, it wasn't so bad, all things considered. So there we go, Patreon support video number 2. The feedback for this format seems to have been largely positive, which is the replays I'm getting sent seem to be good ones, and you guys seem to be enjoying them, so long may the series continue. So if you enjoyed this video, you can leave any comments below, you can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.